Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Board for the Town of Selma to order. Before we get started, we would like to do a quick roll call for board members present. Ms. Watson,
Present.
Todd Holmes, I'm the board chair. I'm here. Mr. Bartlett. Here. Mr. Nixon.
Here.
I believe Ms. Bailey is not with us this evening. Hopefully she'll be able to join us as we get going. And we also have our esteemed mayor joining us this evening as well. If everyone will take a second and look over the agenda, if any additions, corrections, suggestions. I do have one just very, very slight item I just want to share with you guys. If you look over the second page, under section 5, board applications with item F, we're actually going to slide that under section 6. We will go into closed session to discuss the board application. We'll need a motion to adjourn. A motion to go into closed session. At that time, any folks that are here attending the meeting that are not on the board, you will be asked to step out for a few minutes while we have a confidential conversation regarding the board applicant. That'll take a few minutes. When we are finished with that discussion, someone will go to the door and let you guys know it's okay to come back in just to wrap up the meeting. If you want to, because then as soon as we finish that, we're going to adjourn. So, if you want to come back in and see us hit the gavel, that's great. But if not, that might be a good time for everyone to head on their way. Is everyone okay with that slight adjustment? Just a little procedural before we get going this afternoon. Okay. Any other corrections, suggestions, amendments to the meeting? To the agenda for the meeting. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as approved? As presented?
Motion to accept.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Dawn, thanks for getting all this together for us. Then we have our minutes from our June 24th meeting. Were there any corrections, revisions, suggestions for those minutes? Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented this evening?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented from our June 24th meeting, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, Dalton, good job as usual. Thank you, sir. And with that, we will turn it over to our mayor, Mr. McAllister.
Good afternoon, Planning Board. Thank you for having me here this evening. This is kind of our at least once a year kind of pop in to say hello, give any type of direction if council has anything to share, and again, touch base and take questions from the board. I first want to thank you for the hard work that you have been performing over the last particularly few months, because I know it's coming at you like a fire hose now. God bless you for it. That's a great sign in the town of Selma is we are busy. With that, the only bit of direction that I have is just comment on procedures going forward. This comes to mind because I had a conversation with some other board members recently about recommendations for council about procedures going forward. As we polish and hone our policies and procedures, beyond what shows up on the agenda as planning items, we welcome procedural items from the board. So if the planning board would like to see certain processes happen differently, certain policy pieces for staff or policy pieces even for board members, those can certainly come up to council as a recommendation from the board that you all vote on and agree to send to council for being added into our organizational structure. So beyond that, I am really here more so to take questions from you if you have any. Otherwise, I'll get out of your hair and let you get to business.
Questions, comments? One of the questions I had was resolved when we added the application for a new planning board member. That was one of the things I was going to ask about, so we know there's applications, at least a application has been turned in. So we appreciate you guys having some doing a little bit of recruiting for our board. That was really all I had.
Yeah.
That I was going to ask. So
Perfect. And with that, what we are doing now is, of course, anytime an application comes in, we are making sure we file it away, hold it. If they're not able to join the board at that time, they are still able to join the board when there's a spot available. So we've had applications come in over time, we hold on to them, and then our clerk has been keen to recognize when it's time to pull them out of the cupboard and get them to you folks. So it's a process, I think, that'll go well for us going forward. We had it in the past, a lot of people turn in applications, it would get lost in the shuffle, and that certainly turns off people from volunteering as part of your organization. So we're trying to make sure we avoid that.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, quick question. So I think last time we spoke, a couple times ago that you had addressed the board, we had talked about some, KPIs, metrics that the town was trying to achieve, right, in terms of tax revenue and, number of households, so you could evaluate, traffic and things of that nature. Is there any progress towards kind of having that high level, blueprint in terms of, these are the metrics we're trying to hit and how these projects will affect those metrics?
Yes, sir.
Positive or negatively? Yeah.
Great question. So the recent announcements or the recent announcement of Crystal Windows and Doors has certainly been a gigantic step forward toward what we are trying to achieve. That's a company that is going to, in the long run, produce about 500 jobs in this community and will add to our tax base significantly over the course of several years. Our goal still is to somewhat tamp down on the residential growth while exploding with the industrial and commercial growth. And so far, we are seeing it come to fruition. Of course, Eastfield, the first phase of that comes online this year. So that is jobs and commercial that will be rolling very soon. We know that they definitely expect to be open before Black Friday, but it's looking at this rate that we might see some shops open in September, which is amazing to me. But they're throwing down some asphalt over there now, so it seems like it's highly likely. With that being said, we do have several other industrial interests that are poking around Selma as we speak. We just recently designated an electricity site down Noble Street, going toward the old terminals toward Buffalo Road, and that will certainly bolster the conversation for industry to come and invest in Selma. The idea is, of course, we have plenty of houses around us, so we'll have more jobs than we actually need for our population in Selma, and then attract others to come in, work, play, enjoy, and then go home. So our tax revenue should stay fairly high to definitely take care of our citizens and more, while also providing quite an amenity for our surrounding neighbors. So we are well on the way to that conversation. We have not seen an explosion as far as residential growth is concerned. We have a lot of infill projects still. In fact, there's a house being built on an empty lot that was behind me right now. We have a few townhomes being built in remote areas, but we are not seeing those 500, 600 home developments. And even if we were to see those 500, 600 home developments, the way that our land use plan and the way that our zoning is set up right now, it would be a far reach for those developments to actually come to fruition in time. So, any other questions along those lines?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Response?
I think I'm good.
Fantastic.
Mayor, as always, we appreciate your support and guidance, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us this evening.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time to, quite frankly, volunteer a considerable amount of time to the town of Selma. You are doing an important work that is going to shape this community for decades to come. We appreciate you. God bless you. You folks have a great meeting and a great evening.
Thanks,
Okay?
you too.
Thank you.
And with that, we will turn it over to staff for item 5A.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. Hope y'all don't mind hearing me talk, because it's gonna be me for most of tonight.
All right.
All right, so item 5A. My page here. So on page 9, you'll see an action agenda item. Staff received a request and a direction to create an RV ordinance. Such ordinance would allow RVs, recreational vehicles, within mobile home parks and allow for the establishment of new recreational vehicle parks. And so what you'll see on the following 2 pages is, some example language. It's not set in stone, and, this is why we're here, is to get, planning board's input on what you guys think about this RV ordinance. There's kind of 3 things here. The first thing is in section 17, 545G, subsection 6, we'd be amending and adding a definition. So a recreational vehicle as defined in 17-200 shall be permitted as a permanent residence in an established manufactured home park. So that's something that we're adding to an existing ordinance. All right, so. And then beneath that is the new ordinance, so that would be section 17-570. So all that, A through S, those are all new items there. And it talks about, the minimum size for the park. You need at least 3 acres to, establish a RV park. Minimum lots would be 2,000 square feet. Some of the dimensional requirements, the toilet facilities, even allowing some commercial establishments within the RV park, strictly to service the residents of the RV park. You can see some of those there, food, stores, coin-operated laundromats, things of that nature. Another one that I note is J. So permanent parking and storage. Permanent parking and storing of an RV shall not be permitted in the park. So if it's there, you got to be living in it. All right, it's not going to be a storage lot. It's going to be an actual residential lot.
Mr. Ward, you guys, refresh my memory, did consult several other town ordinances, to put this together based on what some of our neighbors are doing as well, right? So it's reflective of the area around Selma.
And what you see a lot of is you'll see, at least at the coast, you see a lot of, mobile home parks, and then directly adjacent is an RV park. So they're sometimes right next to one another. Not that that's how it would have to be, but it's just something you see. We would try to encourage they, if there are opportunities available, try to keep them closer towards one another. But again, what they're asking in that first bit is to allow them to have RVs in mobile home parks. So kind of a mixture in some places. And then the very last thing there, we would be adding the section to Appendix C, Table 2. Let's see where it says amend to include RV parks in the row with mobile home park. So that's a table. I don't know if you don't want to pull that up, you can. All that table talks about is landscaping buffers. So, RV parks would have the same landscape buffers that a mobile home park would have. And I don't know all those numbers off the top of my head, but let's pull that table if you can. But yeah, so if you guys, have any ideas or any comments you'd like to make, Dalton, are we looking to, recommend this tonight, or are we just looking for comments?
So if you guys will recall, there's been a couple times where this item has been pushed back off of the agenda as staff has gained other information and additional feedback. So this is probably the 3rd or 4th time that we've seen it, and now it's more in a more permanent, a more formalized form at this point. Any suggestions? Are we ready to make a recommendation that this go to the town council? Is there any other information that you guys would like to see added to this, or any specific items that you'd like town council to do a little bit more research on before we make a formal recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question about this.
Sure.
I'm looking at the, on page 10 there, where it talks about the intent, right at the very top.
Mm-hmm.
And it says a new ordinance to outline mixed use with RVs and to allow, or to outline mixed use with RVs and mobile home parks. In the very first sentence says this ordinance, the ordinance is to allow RVs within mobile home parks. But as I read through everything here, I don't see anything that says RVs can be in mobile home parks.
So, yep, so that's that first little section there, 17,554. So it's italicized, so it'd be amending and adding that little sentence there.
Okay, so then let me follow up if I can. Let's say I have what was a mobile home park. And I have some spaces available. I allow an RV in one of those spaces. Does that mean now that my mobile home park has to conform to all of these standards? In other words, now I've got to install a toilet, I've got to have a security guard, all these things which I don't need for a mobile home park.
That's a good question. And to be frank, I don't know. But if that's something that you would like me to look into, seeing if that would, by adding in an RV to a mobile home park, does it change how it's, viewed or observed?
But I do think that was something concern is for some of the mobile home parks in our community, established mobile home parks that now have vacant
Sure,
spots
sure.
to be able to bring RVs in. So I think that's something we do need to clarify, that if it's a mobile home park and they're gonna have 3 RVs parked there now, does that mean they have to have full-time staff, they have to have all the other stuff?
I can make a note of that.
I would suggest maybe even looking into some sort of threshold where, if a certain percentage, certain number, certain square footage, whatever it may be, of homes or units or RVs, and you meet these standards. If they're not, then it's considered a mobile home park.
I think that's a very valid point.
So does that mean, like Mr. Dixon, I'm not trying to put numbers, but like if more than 25% of the total units are RVs, then they would have to.
Well, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that would be, something that
That you'd want some
they may want to
clarify.
explore
Yeah.
as a way of, kind of delineating between, well, what's a mobile home park with an RV in it, and what's an RV park with a mobile home over here on the side.
That's right.
I had a question, and I might need my memory refreshed as well, but I thought we were talking about a separate area. So are now we saying that if they have RVs, they can be included in the mobile home park?
Yep. So what you have here is kind of a twofold thing. So it's allowing for the creation of strictly RV parks, and what me and Mr. Nixon were talking about is delineating a mobile home park with RVs in it, right?
Okay,
So
and
that's-
so it's twofold. So they can have a mobile home park, and if there's space that is vacant there, they can have an RV come. And is this RV going to be there permanently, or is this going to be on a limited basis?
It would be a permanent residence. Yeah. 'Cause we're seeing a lot of those. At least I live in the Rosewood area, and I see a lot of those where they're permanent RV hookups.
Is there I know with mobile homes, I know some of them are like grandfathered in if they're older. So with these RVs, are we looking at them having to be a certain make and model, a certain year, or any type of RV, whether it's older or newer model, can go into these vacant spaces? We're saying whatever.
I think that'd be another good point to add as well. I really do. Because, I know one of the things I see is you have Class A and Class B manufactured homes, and they're, at different standards. Make a note for that as well.
Anything else from Mr. Wood? I think those are good points to help make sure it's as clear as it can possibly be when we get to that point. I appreciate all the hard work you guys have been doing trying to run this down. I'm sure it's been like herding cats to try to find something that's going to fit with our existing use, as well as the new RV parks. So just those 2 items, I think.
Yeah, I can look into more of those and, call around other planning departments and see if they've had similar questions and how they've addressed them. But for now, if you guys, you can vote to table.
So is there a motion to table this item regarding further research from town staff?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Again, thank you very much for being so thorough.
Yes, sir. Alright. So, 5B. Item 5B. Special use permit request for River Oak Townhomes. So we spoke about this last month, if you guys remember. And Ms. Watson, you had some questions about maybe traffic. If you guys want, I can kind of rehash through the staff report again, if you'd like. But if not, we can kind of jump into some of the new stuff we have. So if we remember, it's about over 16.5 acre property. They're looking to construct 100 townhomes. And you'll see page 27 kind of shows the site plan there, kind of the orientation, the layout. A few weeks ago, we received a really thorough report from Tom White. Tom? Mr. Tom White, he sent in this nice document kind of going over the project, and its engineer, Mr. Michael Stewart, is here as well. Maybe they can address some of those questions for you, explain some of the project, and Jeff, I'm gonna turn it over to them if you guys would like.
No, I'd just like to say that this is exactly what I was talking about with the mayor earlier, because with the projected revenue and like what the impact is with the project, I mean, those types of metrics, right, make it easy to, weigh out exactly
That's right.
what this project means for the town. So I think it's good information for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to these guys. And there you go.
Good evening, my name is Mike Stewart. I'm with Stewart Proctor Engineering and Surveying. I understand that some of the questions at the last meeting, I'm sorry I wasn't here, it's family matters, but regarding transportation. I wanted to touch base on those if I could. In a project like this, we apply for driveway permits. Once we have a plan, we have the town's approval to carry it forward to DOT, and they do most of the investigation and requirements for street improvements. I would tell you that the typical threshold for off-site and street improvements such as turn lanes and stuff is typically 4,000 vehicles per day on the street that you're trying to either turn off of or turn onto. The last traffic counts we have for West Oak Street in 2022, the traffic count was only 850 vehicles per day on that one, and last year it had only moved to 863. So it was well below their typical threshold to require further information, further studies and stuff as far as driveway permits would go through that. Now they can, because of issues of site distance, both vertically and horizontally, or of safety for some reason, they can require us and to go further into the investigation to see if there's some outside reason to do more than what we're doing. So I would say that we did some traffic based on the ITE, the International Traffic Engineers General Trip Generation Manual, and given the size of the project and the number of homes that we have in here, we have some range of what we consider the peak hour traffic. So the morning peak hour, the evening peak hour. Our evening peak hour, which is the heavy one, ranges from 73 vehicles to 42 vehicles on the peak hour. So it's somewhere about 1 vehicle per minute and stuff at the peak. Again, that doesn't have a threshold that would trip any of the typical triggers to require or to have more information regarded on that. I'm not exactly sure. We would also say that, once we get the driveway permit with the town signature into DOT, they will have and they will render their own opinion when they look at the area to see if there's anything further. I know there was some questions about the proximity to the park.
Yes.
Um,
Are we able to bring up the map again? Thank you. Thank you.
Where did you guys get the, $250,000 per unit price point from?
That's his realm. I'm just the engineer. That's above my pay grade on.
I'll be happy to address all those questions.
Can you address it real quick while he's pulling that up?
Yes, I mean, basically.
Just that one question for now would be great.
We just says price per square foot. That's why.
What did you compare it to?
Well, we know the size of the product that our builder anticipates building. That's correct.
Well, I understand that. I'm trying to think of what's he comparing it to in our area?
In Smithfield. That's the comps that we use. See if
And I understand him saying, hey, this is how much my product's worth, but
No, this came off of,
okay, so that answered my question. There's a similar project in Smithfield, and they're getting $250,000 per unit. You feel like that's a equitable, fair price that you're gonna be able to get within the town itself? Thank you.
and at the same point, we're still at least, we could figure a little bit more inflation in there, probably 18 months out.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I put it in here. I find it all.
Thank you.
Based on this diagram, I think the park is located behind it, correct?
To the side.
Okay. Okay.
And I would tell you that the traffic counts that were done by DOT are actually more in here, so the region up here would actually probably be a few vehicles a day less and stuff. I would also say that typically when we have a multi-family or type unit, and these are townhomes, but they're single-family ownership, but proximity to parks are a big impact in what we like to have. They'll have their own amenity package in the townhouse project, but to have the park close by saves on trips and time and everything else that you would typically have. And so it does become a useful thing, and it's usually what the municipalities would have greater density closer to their parks.
What other questions?
I
Anything
think
else?
based on our last discussion, the traffic was the primary concern that came up. I think he's already addressed that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, and I'll be here till we're done. I will stay till after the meeting.
And so just as a reminder, the report before you is for consideration of this project, recommendation of approval as it's presented. Go from here ultimately to town council. They'll make the final decision.
So, Ms. Ward, if you could just clarify, so tonight, what we would vote on was whether or not to recommend
Yes, sir.
to the town council that the project move forward.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to, there's no rezoning or anything like that, it's based on what we have,
This is for a special use permit.
special use permit.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend to the town council to accept this proposal.
Second.
Any further discussion? The motion is that, planning board recommend and town council to approve the special use permit, for the project as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Gentlemen, so please understand, we are just making a recommendation to the council. The council ultimately will decide whether or not the project moves forward based on what was presented to us. We don't see a reason why you can't continue the process. So just please keep that in mind. This is not a final okay. It's just allowing it to go to the next step. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. All right, 5C. So item 5C on page 33, you'll see another action agenda item. And the issue and action requested is some more input from our planning board. So staff received direction to create a dumpster ordinance. Such an ordinance would regulate their use and include any and all associated fines with any dumpsters that are maintained by the town. So there are a handful of commercial dumpsters that are, you know, shared by some businesses here in town. There's some apartments that also have shared dumpsters. You know, all the tenants pay a certain amount each month for the use of the dumpster, and so this ordinance would regulate those dumpsters. And this is in its really early stages. You know, really just any input is kind of what we're looking on. Some things you think you'd maybe like to see included, or things you don't agree with.
What was the genesis of the request? Was there specific issues as it relates to dumpsters, or, you know, like, what's the?
Just seeing more of their need come up, and there's been some excessive dumping in some of the dumpsters. So maybe, you know, cracking down on misuse was one of the things. Yeah, and they're just trying to beautify the town. You know, that's why you'll see, you know, gates and or visibility screening. You know, want to keep things nice and pretty here in the town.
So we're asking for these complexes to provide a monthly charge to the town?
Yes, ma'am. And so, and that's sort of redundant to have that in there, I guess. Like I said, so a lot of the businesses here in town that have a dumpster, you know, they either cover the cost up front or they share it with other businesses. So that would kind of stay the same. But it would be a new fee added into the fee schedule. Because I don't believe there actually, I don't know if there is one currently. I'm not sure. Not without the fee schedule in front of me.
So are these for dumpsters that the town utilities picks up and empties?
So it's not the town, it's a contracted service. I believe it's Meridian Incorporated. It's a contracted service that the town pays for.
So the town pays for the vendor.
The actual,
The businesses pay the town like we pay for our
That's right.
regular
Yes,
pickup
sir.
and stuff. Okay,
kind of a complex relationship there.
okay.
I apologize, I'm trying to get understanding.
Oh, you're fine.
So the town pays for it and they charge the tenants or the business a fee to use the dumpsters, is that correct?
I believe so. I apologize. This was all new to me as well.
Just like with our pickup at our house. where
Correct.
It includes our utility, water, and garbage pickup. So I'm assuming it's something similar to that. We're just trying to make sure that the businesses are, just like we had a discussion about people's containers at their house a while ago, trying to make sure there's a uniform ordinance in place to make sure that it's not getting, being an eyesore,
Yeah.
and those types of things. Okay.
I just was a little confused when it was saying they had the monthly charges or collection fees. If they were already paying it, I guess I just want to emphasize it.
Well, but it could be something that is put in there that if they're not keeping it clean themselves, then they
An
get
additional
they
fee.
get a bill for someone to come and have to clean their dumpster pad, that type of thing.
So you guys are just looking for some general input on this outline that you have under items to be included, because
Yes, sir.
just
Yeah,
some,
just, you know, and again, and kind of just like with the RV ordinance, if you guys want to take some time and brainstorm and, you know, look at other areas, other municipalities.
I think that would be a good suggestion.
Sure.
Look and see what they're doing.
I like this, the more that we can put out to folks, then the fewer questions there are, the fewer opportunities there are for people to say, well, business A, they do this all the time, and why are you getting on us about it? Well, no, we have an ordinance that everyone
Regulates
follows.
everybody.
and definitely will go a long way in increasing curb appeal, for sure, right?
As I look at this, I see things like list of prohibited items. I assume if those items are found in the dumpster, it doesn't get emptied, or there's a penalty, fine imposed?
Yeah, and I mean, I have to assume that this would probably become a code enforcement duty, right? So looking for some of these fines, looking for these things that you know, are prohibited, that shouldn't be dumped in the dumpster. The enforcement will be a whole nother step as far as how we actually go about regulating this.
My question, suggestion, as it goes forward and, you know, is, this is hashed out a little more, is about responsibility.
Sure.
Because if I've got a dumpster, and you mentioned like some apartment complexes have a dumpster that's shared by all the units, you know, well, people are sometimes very willing to use dumpsters that they see that, because they've got more trash at home, so they go about throwing it in the dumpster. And it just seems, I just wonder if it's fair that the business owner, whose dumpster is being abused by others, now has to pay the additional penalty or some sort of consequence because somebody else
That's
Yeah.
a true point.
does that.
And one of the things on the penalties / fines is unauthorized use. Now, again, I'm personally am not saying, you know, every business needs to install a camera pointed at their dumpster so they can catch somebody throwing their trash away that ain't their dumpster.
That seems to me like you're gonna penalize the owner for unauthorized use is like, you know, penalizing the storekeeper because someone shoplifted, unauthorized purchasing. You know, it's your fault, shopkeeper. You know, and if, I know you can get locks to put on the dumpsters, but then if they are shared in like in a, you know, apartment complex, how would, everybody has a key and, you know, all it takes is one person to leave it unlocked, or it just seems that there are some gray areas that I would love to see kind of filled in.
I was just gonna ask, are the dumpsters standard issue for the folks to pick it up? Like, is this a standard dumpster type? I assume it's gotta fit within the truck that's picking it up, right? So like, the
So there are-
non-conforming dumpsters, would that be an issue if they're?
And so that was brought up as far as you know, having them like registered or added to the list. So if there's any in the town, like if this does get rolled out eventually and this ordinance does get approved, you know, we would give all the, you know, current people that use a dumpster a certain time period to, you know, add theirs to the list, you know, of the collected dumpsters.
I see.
So as far as being non-conforming.
But if a new business opens up,
Mhm.
then we use our vendor to set up the disposal, the dumpster pad and all that stuff. But a new business couldn't go to Waste Management or one of these other places on their own and arrange it. They have to go through the town. Is that?
Well, now
Is that
that's a good
fair?
point. I mean, that's why, you know, we want to come to you guys for those type of, you know, questions. I think that, you know, I mean, obviously wanting to generate money for the town, I think that could be a good idea. But you know, people like their freedom of choice. If they don't want to go with the town's dumpsters, they could have the option to do something else.
Could a resident can't do that, right? Like I couldn't go through waste, I mean, I guess I could, but I'm still gonna get charged my fee from the town as part of my utility bill. So I think what I'm hearing is that we would like to get a little bit more additional information, as, in all of your spare time, Mr. Woodard, if you wouldn't mind, maybe,
Sure.
maybe just getting, just some general, do some snooping around with some, other towns and, kind of share some samples for us and then, dig into a little bit of some of the questions. Are we okay, to make a motion to table this for further discussion?
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you bringing this to us to get some.
No, yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. All right, moving on. Y'all aren't tired of me yet, are you?
Yes, sir.
No.
We only have to see you once a month. It's okay.
Two more, and then I'm gone. All right, 5D. So this is a new item. This is a rezoning request for 710 East Anderson Street. So this is out, as you're leaving town, headed towards Pine Level. Anderson Street turns into Pine Level, Selma Road, right there by the railroad tracks. So, get my staff report. So staff received an application for this rezoning. And I also want to note that, we've been working with this applicant for a while now. It's a potential business coming to the town, dewatering facility. And the gentlemen here are one of the gentlemen from the company and their engineer as well. He's here to answer some questions, but I'm going to go over this real quick. And again, this is for the rezoning. This isn't for the actual use. The use is permitted. It's an industrial zone. What they're proposing is an industrial type facility. But what's weird is their parcel somehow has two different zones on it. And you'll see on the map on page 40 on the staff report. So their parcel, you'll see it. Don't pull that up. It's like 3/4 industrial and 1/4 general business. And we've been working on this property for a while now. So if you'll also see, it looks like it's 3 different sections. So this is something that's gone to council recently and has been resolved. There was a street there a long time ago called Ada Street. It was never developed, or maybe it was, maybe back in the 1910s or 20s. But that street hasn't existed and it hasn't really been maintained by the town, as far as anyone knows, ever. But it was recorded on a map and just never updated over the course of, well, Lord knows how long. So we're fixing them as we find them. So GIS will eventually reflect that that is one contiguous L-shaped parcel, not those 3 little chunks there. So that's already been resolved. It's now one contiguous parcel. And then it's always been one parcel under one tax ID. But again, the issue that we're talking about here is the rezoning. So again, you've got the sections in blue are the I2 zone, that's industrial, and that little section in red is that general business zone. And really, I mean, they wouldn't be able to use that section anyways for any general business, even if they were to cut that off and sell that parcel. It has no access unless from the road there. So their intent was to just make it one contiguous industrial zone because it's already 2/3. I mean, I've measured it out. It's 2/3 industrial already. And if you'll also see, they sent us their nice site plan. That's on page 45. That section that's general business isn't even really being used for the business itself. That's where they plan on putting their, the detention pond, is that what's going there? Or is that's what's wooded? That's right. Yeah. So they had no current intentions of even using that section, and it's all currently wooded there anyways. And we've talked about landscaping, and they would have, really just plan on keeping that keeping those trees there, sort of act as a buffer. And so again, it's just want to make it nice, one nice contiguous piece. See if there was anything else.
As a reminder to myself, because I remember when this first came up and I had a million questions, I was reminded that we are only considering the rezoning. We are
That's
not
right,
to
yeah.
take into account any factors of the business at this point.
That's right.
We are only able to consider the rezoning. So keep that in mind, because again, I had a million questions and I was reminded it's only the rezoning for now, and then questions can come up later.
And that's a good point, Mr. Holmes. And with that said, in the staff report, I addressed the future land use plan, and their parcel is, it resides in that industrial section on that future land use plan. There's kind of that corridor that comes off, that would be general business, but I mean, it's right there on, both sides in the industrial. So to staff, it does appear to be in harmony with the land use plan, because we always want to take that into consideration.
Any questions for staff? We have a representative from from the business here. Again, we're only considering rezoning.
Yep,
Any
only the
questions, any questions regarding the rezoning for the representative that's here? Mr. Woodard, anything else for us? We're good?
That's basically all I've got. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So again, based just on the rezoning and the recommendation from staff, is there a motion to approve the rezoning as presented?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So again, we're just approving the rezoning. All the other stuff that comes with this will come later. Okay? Thank you, guys. Yeah, make the recommendation to the council. That's all we're doing. We got one more.
One more for you. All right. Last but not least is 5E. So this is a map amendment for a 110 South Green Street. And this is a new one to myself, maybe a new one to you guys, this specific request. So this specific request is to remove the property 110 South Green Street from the historic overlay district due to the significant number of unpermitted modifications that have been made to the exterior over the past handful of years. So this item went to the Appearance Commission back in June. So on June 17th, the Appearance Commission made a motion to approve the removal of this property from the West Selma Historic District. So on page 50, you can see those changes that took place when it was purchased, and then what it looks like as of August 21. Been a few changes since then, but all the windows have been replaced, the front door was replaced, the 2 exterior chimneys were removed, the front porch was extended, siding has been modified, it's brick now. Sconces and lighting have been placed on the front facade, and the fence has been modified as well. So it's in essence lost its its historical integrity. And the applicant is wanting to do more work on the house. And she's expressed interest in leaving the district so that she doesn't have to go through the process of getting a COA from the Appearance Commission. So because this is editing the map, this is why it's coming to planning board, because you guys, it's a zoning map overlay district. And you'll see on page 49, that's the location. It's that little square that's been blotted out. So it's right there on the edge of the historic district. It wouldn't be some random dot in the center. It kind of works out in that way.
Many changes have been made to the home. I'm very familiar of its location, so I think at this point it's kind of a moot point.
And that was the intent. And ultimately, this will also go to council because this is the map amendment. Right? So any text and map amendments, come before you guys. So this one's going to hit all 3 boards.
Any questions, comments?
I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know the historic districts have some connection to state action. Is that not correct? Or I misunderstand?
Dawn, you might know a little bit more about this. I know that you can register to have your house nationally recognized.
Right.
I think within the state, it's just the establishing of the district.
Right, but what I'm saying is, isn't the state involved in the declaration of a historic district?
If I'm not mistaken, a town has a survey done and a report drawn up that they send to North Carolina historic sites, and they recognize it and then can adopt it. But we do have a section in our UDO that outlines the requirements for the creation, amendment, or dissolution of a historic district. But that's something that I can look into. I mean,
I guess my question, just,
are we going against the states?
right,
Yeah.
once the state makes, I'm sure they have requirements for state designation. Is this a state designation? And if so,
Gotcha.
do they have requirements for
The dissolution.
right.
Yeah.
or, it would seem to me that would trump the
The
UDOs.
towns, yeah.
Well, if that was the case, then they would not have been able to do these significant remodels to the home.
And they were
And
unpermitted.
they have already done so.
Well, and true, or unless it was done prior to the adoption, which was something like 2018 or 19, somewhere around there.
No, they've worked on this home as recently as the beginning part of this
Oh,
year.
oh, true. And there are throughout the historic districts every day things being done. There's no enforcement of historic district.
Yeah, we're trying to
Right.
get better about that, but
And,
yeah.
we even dissolved our Historic Preservation Commission. That was dissolved. And so, seems to be not much, either because of ability or interest in preserving, historic things, which doesn't alleviate the fact that it's still, it's one thing to kind of look the other way. It's another thing to begin in piecemeal and dissolve the district. Yeah. And so I guess I would like just to make sure that we are in compliance with any regulations that may be in place. I don't know. There may be nothing. I would like to know that before
Sure.
we weigh in on this.
Mr. Nixon, if I may,
Yes.
I don't know the statute off the top of my head, but I do know that the state does give local governments the authority to amend the historic districts. If you'd like, staff can put that report together and bring that back next month if you'd rather see it.
Oh, if you tell me that this is what the state allows, I don't need further proof than that.
And our attorneys have reviewed this
Yeah, I'm
process as
just
well, so.
curious, I guess.
No, I think that's a good
Sure.
point, because we don't want to do something that's counter to
Right.
state law,
Agreed.
federal law.
Right.
Because the Appearance Commission is a governing body, so they do vote. And the reason like I said, the reason we wanted to bring this to you guys was because it also is adjusting the map.
So our role would be to make a recommendation to town council to adjust the map to exclude this address from the West Selma Historic District.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Dalton. I
I
didn't know
actually,
that statute.
I actually thought that the historical district started further up at cause this is by the railroad track.
Correct.
And then once you get to the stop sign, I thought that started the historical district across the street.
No, it's it goes further down and then down Railroad Street quite a ways.
Oh,
It's pretty large, and the Appearance Commission is having discussions about maybe downsizing the district. That's one of the things that they're talking about. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. But again, this is just for that one specific property for now. Yeah, that's all three districts there.
oh wow,
That's a lot of homes.
It's a lot of homes.
it is.
And you're right, enforcement is hard, right? And there's only a handful of us. Code enforcement does a really good job of, riding around and seeing what's going on. And she lets us know if, hey, there's something going on. Do they have a permit or have they applied for anything? Well, so we're trying to enforce it. We want to have these ordinances and follow them.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodard? Mr. Woodard, you got anything else for us regarding
I do not.
the site? Okay.
So you guys,
So is there a motion to recommend to town council that 110 South Green Street be, what was the term you used?
dissolute or let's see.
Removed
Removed from the district, but you're right, I
from
used a fancy word.
Removed from the West Selma Historic District.
Dissolved, yeah.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All right, so we will,
Chairman, please, I abstained on that, vote.
you abstain.
Abstain.
So we have, 3, 4, 1 abstention. Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So if we go back and look at our agenda for this evening, you will see that we have now gotten to our closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 subsection 6. So at this time, we'd like to thank those members of the
Mr.
public.
Chairman, don't we need a motion first?
Oh, sorry.
Mr.
Motion.
Chairman, I move that we go into executive, or closed session as outlined in the, what you just mentioned, the ed code.
Is there a second?
Before we do that, are any of these applicants present today?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. So moved.
So we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Second, okay, all those in favor of going into closed session, say aye. Aye. All right, so, we'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, but if you're not a member of the town staff or the board, we'd like to ask you to, excuse yourself. You're more than welcome to come back in a few minutes when we adjourn the meeting officially, but otherwise,